I stuck it out another 2 years because I'm Mr. Positive Attitude. But my wife, now ex-wife, kind of begged and pleaded and cajoled and beat me up every day saying, you got to go get a real job. So after 2 years, I answered an ad in the New York Times, which turned out to be for a very well-known sales training company at the time, DEI Management Group. They're since out of business, but I had nothing to do with that. But that's where I learned the business of selling and delivering sales training. And it really seemed to be the job I'd been meant to do all my life. Because, Karl, I love helping people. And don't get me wrong, I like getting paid for helping people. But I get a great feeling when people email me, call me, text me saying, hey, Jeff, yeah. So I used to only work with large companies. Companies you're familiar with. I've worked with Cisco Systems and Siemens and Aramark and State Farm and Citibank and companies like that all over the world. They'll fly me in to, train their salespeople how to sell, train their salespeople how to prospect. I also train sales managers how to manage salespeople. So that's the thing I'm best known for. I do love helping salespeople, and I'm kind of a natural ham. I'm also a stand-up comedian. I've been doing that for 4 years, and I've always used humor to keep people awake and involved.
All right, great. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us again for another episode of Define Your Purpose. And with me today is expert sales problem solver from the New York City area, Mr. Jeff Goldberg. Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Karl. I'm excited to speak with you.
Great. Well, I know you've had quite a bit of experience in coaching and sales and all. I'm curious about what got you started down that avenue to begin with.
Gotcha. Well, I've been in sales for 49 years now. I've sold a lot of different things, including Encyclopedia Britannica door to door.
Wow. Okay.
Almost 50 years ago. Some people don't know what that is, but they were actual books. Yep. I've always been in sales. I also was trained to become a sales manager. So of my almost 50 years in sales, 14 of those years were spent as an on-staff sales manager, sales director, national sales manager, things like that. I opened up a headhunting firm because I went to work for one and found I was very good at that. I left after a year to open up my own company. And in 2001, when the bottom dropped out of the economy, it was almost impossible to place people in jobs because companies were laying off by the tens of thousands. I stuck it out another 2 years because I'm Mr. Positive Attitude. But my wife, now ex-wife, kind of begged and pleaded and cajoled and beat me up every day saying, you got to go get a real job. So after 2 years, I answered an ad in the New York Times, which turned out to be for a very well-known sales training company at the time, DEI Management Group. They're since out of business, but I had nothing to do with that. But that's where I learned the business of selling and delivering sales training. And it really seemed to be the job I'd been meant to do all my life. Because, Karl, I love helping people. And don't get me wrong, I like getting paid for helping people. But I get a great feeling when people email me, call me, text me saying, hey, Jeff, I tried that thing. I closed a deal that I wouldn't have closed otherwise, or I got a promotion, or I'm doing better at my job and I'm making more money, things like that. It feels really good. And sales and sales management are the things I know best. So I stuck it out for about a year and a half, then went to my current then wife and said, hey, I'm going to make us rich because I'm really good at this and I'm going to open up a company. And she'd been so burned by, the fact that I stuck it out with the headhunting firm that she said, no, I don't want to open up another business. And she actually said, if you do that, you're going to be married to somebody else. And then about 6 months later, she decided she'd had enough of me. So that's when I opened up Goldberg Associates. And I do a number of things, sales training being one of them.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. So I guess there's a lot of evolution as to why you stuck with the you stuck with it the way you did. I mean, you've had your own business now since your divorce. You said about as long as you've been at your current place.
Yeah.
What made you think that you should start your own company at the time and go right into sales?
Yeah, sales training. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's very difficult to excuse me, allergies.
Sure.
It's very difficult to make a lot of money unless you're working for yourself. You can. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
make four or $500,000 a year or more. But I really like working for myself. I like not having anybody to report to other than my accountant and my ex-wife. Um, I, uh, I, I, I like being in charge of my own destiny and doing what I want to do when I want to do it. As I mentioned earlier, to you before we started recording, I live by the beach. I'm a block away, and so
Right.
if it's 3 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon in the summer, and I want to go sit on the beach and drink tequila and go for a swim, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And owning my own company gives me the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and to be well compensated and do what I love doing, helping salespeople and sales organizations increase their sales.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. So, what's your clientele like now? Do you work entirely with bigger companies, or do you work entirely with individuals, or a mix?
Yeah. So I used to only work with large companies,
Mm.
companies you're familiar with. I've worked with Cisco Systems and Siemens and Aramark and State Farm and Citibank and companies like
Mm.
that all over the world. They'll fly me in to, train their salespeople how to sell, train their salespeople how to prospect. I also
Mm.
train sales managers how to manage salespeople. Um, so that's the thing I'm best known for.
Mm.
I do love helping salespeople, and I'm kind of a natural ham. I'm also a stand-up comedian. I've been doing that for 4 years, and I've always used humor to keep people awake and involved, in a full-day seminar. So it's truly what I
Right.
love doing. But I also do one-on-one private coaching for salespeople and sales management. I also have a group coaching program that I just started in January. I also took the programs that I
Awesome.
go into companies and teach them in a day. I went into a professional studio and recorded them, so anybody can buy those. They can watch them over and over. It's great.
Awesome.
And I have a boot camp. So if you want to learn how to sell properly, there's a 6-week boot camp that helps with that. Um, so I don't really work very much with huge companies anymore.
Mm.
Although for the online on-demand programs, I'm working on selling those. I just came out with those like a few months ago.
That's really neat.
Mostly today, I'm working with smaller companies, small
Mm.
to medium-sized businesses, and individuals. So I also do something called outsourced sales management, and that's exactly what it sounds like. I take
Mm.
over the sales management function of usually a team of less than 10 salespeople. Sometimes they have no salespeople and they want me to grow a team for them, which I've done multiple times. So
Mm.
those are typically small to mid-sized companies. So I'm working with individuals, organizations, and mostly small to medium businesses.
Mm. Neat. That's awesome. So, once you got kind of bit by the bug, what were some of your influences there? What made you really go after it and and
Well,
have that
yeah.
drive?
Sorry, I've been a student of sales. So
Right.
one of the things that most salespeople don't do is they don't work at it. They don't treat it like it's a career. They treat it like it's a job. They
Mm.
don't read a book. They don't go to a seminar. They don't do anything to better themselves
Yeah.
unless their company makes them do it.
Hmm.
So all my life, I figured I don't know what I'm talking about. So let me study this and figure out how do you really do it well. So I've
Hmm.
read tons of books. I've
Right.
been to tons of seminars. I've just taken an amalgamation of everything I've learned and turned it into my own programs.
Right. Yeah, I read a lot of Jay Abraham. I was thinking you probably are familiar with his stuff.
Yeah, he's not a sales guy. He's really a marketing guy and a consultant,
Right.
but very
Mhm.
successful and brilliant. I mean, I love Jay Abraham.
Right.
He makes a lot more money than I do. I think he gets like $100,000 a day for consulting. I mean, some
Wow.
insane number. Yeah, I could be off
Crazy.
on that, but I think that's what it used to be.
Right.
I'm not charging that kind of money.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So, what's it look like this year coming up then that you're putting together your courses and all now that you're rolling out? Um, what's it look like this year?
Yep. Well, I've got currently 3 outsourced sales management clients that I'm working with to help them build sales teams
Okay.
and manage them so they can, grow their sales. I do have several one-on-one coaching clients, and as I mentioned, I have a group coaching community that I just formed in January. One of the challenges is that people who most need my help can't afford it. If you're struggling in sales and you're not making enough money, you're not going to be able to pay me what I charge for private coaching.
Right.
And for years and years, people have asked me, when I tell them the number, like, oof, I wish I could afford that. But if you're struggling in sales, you can't. So I gave it a lot of thought and came up with a way that, here's a way that I can still get paid and make enough money to make it worth my while and help more people. And that's where the group coaching community, it's called the Sales Pro Insider Network, was born.
Nice.
The way it works is we meet twice a month on Tuesday evenings from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. In the first meeting of the month, it's just whoever shows up. It could be 2 people, it could be 50 people. There's not 50 yet. It's really just 2 or 3 right now. But they have access to me. They can ask me any questions. Just like in a one-on-one coaching session where I find out what are your problems, what are your challenges, and I'm going to help you solve them. How do you see more prospects? How do you close more business? How do you shorten your sales cycle? Things like that. So we're doing this. I'm doing the same thing, but in a group setting, which is dramatically more cost effective in terms of an outlay. So that's the first meeting of the month where they just get me. The second meeting of the month, which we just did last night, by the way, I bring in a guest coach who speaks on whatever their topic of specialty is. Like last night, I had the brilliant coach Craig Siegel. He's a mindset coach. He wrote a book called The Reinvention Formula, How to Develop a Bulletproof Mindset to Upgrade Your Life. So he got to speak for a half an hour to my group. We had about 20 people there last night. And then everybody got to ask questions, and I did a little more interviewing, and that's the way it works. And a lot of people seem to like that there's no contract. A lot of coaches work with a 6-month or 12-month contract. I'm not interested in tying anybody down to a contract if they're not getting value. So people can come check it out. By the way, it's $27 for the first month, so it's almost no risk whatsoever. And then if people want to stay on, the investment goes up. But most people who have joined are finding that it's well worth it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's really what my future looks like right now. Focusing on selling the boot camp with the online programs and the group coaching community.
Fantastic. That's some really great
inroads. For other stuff, like I just got an email today from somebody who I was introduced to. He goes, Jeff, I think we need some help with training. I heard a podcast that you were on. Really liked your thoughts. So people keep showing up.
Right. Yeah. Good product sells itself, I guess.
Well, I don't know about that. I still have to do some selling, but the key to me, as it should be with any salesperson, is how do you develop a prospecting plan that allows people to reach out to you rather than you having to reach out to them. And I'm not against outbound marketing. I'm fully for it. I think salespeople should be doing a little bit of everything, including cold calling and LinkedIn and email and all that other stuff. But I've worked very hard to get to a point where I don't really have to cold call anymore. I do it once a month just to make sure that when I'm teaching people, when I'm teaching them how to cold call, is still working. But I get a third of my business from LinkedIn, from people reaching out to me saying, hey, I've been following you for a while, really like what you're saying, would like to talk to you about some coaching or some training or whatever it is. And all I'm really doing is posting valuable content 5 days a week. Right. Every day of the week, I'm posting valuable content, and there's never hey, here's why you should do business with me. It's never, please buy my product or we're running a special. It's here's the advice you need to sell more effectively or to prospect more effectively, because I find that when you give, you get. Right. So, I'm constantly giving out tips and tools and strategies that people can use. There's some mindset stuff in there and, motivation, but I believe that if you help enough people, somehow it's coming back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I say the same thing, actually. I believe that too. I think it's important to lead with value and show that you can help people.
Absolutely. Well, Zig Ziglar, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the name, but he's a famous motivational guy. He also did sales training. His training was not very good, but his motivational stuff was brilliant. And Zig said that if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Right.
He also said, and I believe this fully, that sales is service. You've got to be coming from a place of serving people. If you're trying to sell somebody so you can make a commission, which of course we all need to get paid, but you really have to come from, my job is to serve you. Whatever you're selling, it's how do you help people do what they're doing better. So I help people prospect better. I help people sell better. I help people manage salespeople better. Whatever product or service somebody's selling, it's got to be to help somebody do what they're trying to do better.
Right.
And when you come from that place of truly serving, people can tell the difference between that and somebody who's just trying to earn a commission. I call that commission breath. People can prospects can smell commission breath when you need the sale too badly.
I like that. That's hilarious. So what would have been maybe a couple of the other most important pointers that you've given people who have come to you about sales help, maybe coaches in particular?
Yeah. Well, one thing is consistent and effective prospecting. You've got to be prospecting every day. Most salespeople have to be, and by, lawyers and coaches and accountants, you're selling too. I'm considering everybody a salesperson. And I do a lot of work with entrepreneurs and solopreneurs who they have to sell as part of their job. So consistent and effective prospecting is one of the keys. Anytime you stop prospecting, and by the way, Karl, it's the thing that most salespeople like doing the least. So we look for any excuse to not prospect. And the challenge is that whenever you stop prospecting, somewhere down the line, you can't get paid. And I'll give you a quick example. Right. For one of the services I offer, sales training, I have an 8-week sales cycle. From the time I first meet with somebody till the time they say yes, if they're going to, it's average 8 weeks. Could be one day, could be 5 years, but the average is 8 weeks. But when somebody shakes my hand and says, yes, I want to move forward, they don't hand me a check that day. There's a bunch of other stuff that has to happen. I have to write the program, write the workbook, and they have to book a room, and we have to coordinate calendars. There's a whole bunch of things. And the truth is, for sales training, from the time I first meet with somebody till the time I actually get their check, the average is 4.5 months. Now, what that means is if I don't prospect for sales training business today, I can't get paid 4.5 months from today. If I don't prospect for sales training business tomorrow, I can't get paid 4.5 months from tomorrow. And for me, because I own my own business, and when the money comes in, it goes into my hot little pocket. I don't need to get paid every day, but I don't want to go months and months without getting paid. I do have 3 kids to take care of, and the ex-wife, and all that other stuff, just like everybody has responsibilities. So I want to be making sure that my income is steady, and consistent and effective prospecting is key. The other thing that I always tell salespeople of all types is, and I consider this the most important thing I teach salespeople, and it's called the BNAS. And those letters stand for Best Next Action Step. And it simply means this: never leave a meeting or a phone call without setting up the next meeting or phone call right then and there. Never leave a meeting or a phone call without setting up the next meeting or phone call right then and there. I get constant complaints from people. Jeff, I keep getting ghosted. How do I avoid getting ghosted? Well, that's because you're ending your meeting wrong. The typical salesperson, Karl, is going to end a meeting like this. So let's say you're a vice president of sales, and we're talking about sales training, and the typical salesperson is going to end a meeting like this. Hey, Karl, here's what I think we should do. This has been a great meeting. I'd like to go back to my office, and I'd like to think about everything we've talked about. I'd like to put some ideas on paper on how we can increase sales at Klausewitz Co. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. And as soon as I've got that ready, I'll give you a call. We'll set up another meeting. I'll come back and share my ideas with you. And that way, you'll have all the information you need to make an intelligent decision whenever you're ready. How does that sound to you? And Karl, I guarantee you, in every instance when you ask that question, everybody goes, sounds good. Because the only thing they agreed to was it's okay with them if I go back to my office, take the time to write a proposal, and call them. They didn't say they take my call. They didn't say if I got them on the phone that they give me the appointment. They just said, you want to go do a bunch of work and call me? Feel free. But a better way would be, hey, Karl, this has been a great meeting. Here's what I think we should do. I'm going to go back to my office, think about everything we talked about, put some ideas on paper on how we can increase sales at your company. And I'd like to come back and share those ideas with you next Tuesday at 3. How does that sound to you? Karl, if you say yes to that, I know one thing for certain: you're interested. Because a busy executive, the kind of type of people I deal with, and I think most people deal with busy people, a busy executive is not going to give me some of their time and then agree to give me more of their time unless they're interested. And I only want to work with interested people. I'm not interested in the people who say, call me next month, call me next quarter, call me when hell freezes over. Those aren't real prospects. I only want to work with real prospects. And that's another thing that I think is important for salespeople. You've got to protect your time like a mother lion protects her cubs.
Mm.
And most salespeople don't. We treat time
Yeah.
as if, well, there's always tomorrow. And for most of us, there is always tomorrow. But here's the thing. The more I accomplish today, the more I can accomplish tomorrow. And if I want to put the most effort in and get the most results, I got to work hard. I got to put in the effort and do it. And most salespeople do not protect their time. They'll respect their prospects and their customers' time more than they'll respect their own. It's not true for me. I respect my prospects' time and I respect my customers' time. But you know whose time I respect more? Me. Because
right.
time is the one thing you can't get back.
Yeah.
You can almost always get healthy if you're sick. Not always, but almost always. You can always make more money. But the one thing you cannot get back is time.
Mm-hmm.
If the time we're investing in this podcast does not provide genuine value for you and your audience, I've wasted your time. And you should be pissed off about that.
Well, and if you don't respect your time, nobody else will.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. And that's why here's another thing I like to teach salespeople. Never start a meeting by thanking your prospect for their time. Because when you do that, and that's the way the typical sales, oh, thank you so much for your time today, Karl. Really appreciate it. I'm going to, get right to the point because I know you're busy. Here's why Jeff Goldberg and Associates is the greatest training and coaching company in the world. Well, when you do that, you lower yourself and you elevate your prospect. You're bowing down to thank you so much for your time.
Right.
No, I want them to thank me for my time. If you're going to say anything at the beginning of a conversation about sales, then a better choice of words, and I'm very big on word choices, by the way, Karl. I listen intently to every word my coaching clients and training clients use, and I'm constantly correcting them. Here's a better choice, because one word can be the difference between closing a deal and not. So a better choice of words at the beginning of a meeting would be, hey, Karl, I'm really glad we can invest some time together today. Because when I say the word invest, hopefully that triggers in your mind, oh, investments. They often have a return on investment. Sales is mostly psychology, so word choices are crucial.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you're copywriting all the time almost.
Yeah, I really do believe that one word can be the difference between closing a sale and not. I can tell you this, in comedy, it's absolutely the difference. Even not just the word you use, but the order you say them in and the way you say them. It is the same thing in sales. In comedy, you can switch the order of a couple of words and suddenly the joke works great or doesn't work great anymore.
Yeah.
Also, changing the order that you tell your jokes in, starting with, I've been using this joke halfway through my set, but now I'm putting it to the beginning, which I did recently, much better responses. So, in sales, we have an audience and we want to engage them just like on a comedy stage. So we want to make sure that we're making the most use of the time that we invest together with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Another tactic you see a lot now is FOMO, and it's used everywhere. And even my dog gets FOMO sometimes. So I wonder what you think about where it has an appropriate place in a sales conversation, because that's not necessarily helping someone genuinely unless you're just highlighting their need to act.
Yeah. So I'm not big on using fear as a sales technique, although sometimes it is appropriate. Like I was talking to somebody recently who sells life insurance. They're like, Jeff, I'm not closing business. People are telling me, yeah, I'll do it next month. I'll do it next year. What do you think I should do? Well, in that case, you do want to use FOMO because, the conversation has to be, got it. Whenever you're ready is fine by me, but God forbid something happens to you tomorrow. How's your wife or your husband going to take care of your kids without your income? Right. How's she going to put them through college? How's she going to pay the mortgage? I mean, is that really something you want to wait on? For me, the only time I use fear of missing out is when somebody tells me, hey, Jeff, I'm thinking about doing some training. Do you have an opening on this date? And, I'll check my calendar. And if there's an opening, I'll let them know. But I also let them know I'll hold that date for you. And there's no obligation, by the way, there's no fee. I'll hold that date. But here's what that means. If somebody else asks me for that date, I'll reach out to you first and see if you want it before I give it to somebody else. And then, if somebody else does want it, then I would call the first person and go, hey, somebody else wants this date. Do you want that date or are you going to release it? Right. And sometimes that pushes them to move forward more quickly. But I'm not really using it as a technique to get them to make a decision. It's because I'm busy. Yeah. Thank God. Thank goodness. I've got people who want my time. in some of the things I sell, I can't take on any new clients right now because I'm so busy. I've referred like some outsourced sales management clients. I've referred them to other outsourced sales managers because I can only handle a few of those at a time and do training and coaching and all the other things. So,
Right.
I'd rather have somebody taken care of than wait for me, unless I know an engagement's going to end in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
look, is fear of missing out a valid technique? Sure. Um, I'd rather that people buy because they see the value rather
Yeah.
than they're worried about not getting what I have to offer
Hmm. Right. What is something that you maybe tell a new business owner who is hesitant to get into the cold contacting and the cold messaging or that sort of thing on the online?
them. Don't do it. You don't
Mm,
want to do it? Don't do it, but you better be good at something else.
mm,
So I built my business through cold calling. I left the training company that I was working for, opened up my own. I'm not going to steal their clients. So I had nothing to do all day except pick up the phone and dial it. And that's how I built
mm,
my business. But I became very good at other things as quickly as possible so that I wouldn't have to do it,
mm,
like
right.
LinkedIn. I get a third of my business
Mm,
from LinkedIn. And again, it's from me posting valuable content and people reaching out to me. I'm also in a networking group that I've been in for 18 and a half years. Another third
mhm,
of my business comes from referrals from that.
mm,
Then I give speeches, that brings me business, and referrals from current and past clients, and that takes care of everything. Is there is there a time when it's appropriate to do cold outreach? Absolutely. I believe in what I call a blended approach to prospecting for most salespeople.
right.
Uh, Salespeople should try everything that they're willing to do, see what the result is, and stick with what's working. And when I say willing to do, if you're like me, you're not willing to cold call. Again, I built my business that way, but I'm not willing to do it. And here's why, by the way. I want every call to sound like this. So if you were a VP of sales and I was trying to get an appointment with you, I'd want the call to go like this. Hey, Karl, this is Jeff Goldberg from Jeff Goldberg and Associates. And you say, stop right there. I've heard about you. I know you're so good you're going to get the appointment. And I know once you get out here, you're going to close me. So why don't I save us both some time and just send you a check right now? Except that's, yeah, you're smiling. That's because that's not the way most calls go. There's massive rejection, which is why I don't want to do it. But if somebody's willing to do cold calling, they should test it, see if it's working for them, and stick with that. And they should be using LinkedIn, and they should be using email. There's a
Mhm,
lot of different ways to prospect. You have to find the ones that are working well for you and that you're actually willing to do.
right. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That's great advice.
Yeah, and if there's something that you're just not willing to do, you're going to suck at it anyways.
Hmm. Right.
Look, if I was making cold calls, people would be able to hear it in my voice, even though I'm practiced and accomplished and I know what to do. They're going to hear that I really don't want to be making these calls because I don't. I
Hmm.
want everybody to
Hmm.
love me. I
Yeah.
don't want anybody to go not interested. I'm happy with my current provider. Send me some information or any of the other four excuses that people give you when they won't give you an appointment. I'm just not interested, which is
Hmm.
why I've worked hard at LinkedIn and networking and the other ways I get business.
Hmm.
But for some
Yeah.
people, cold calling is appropriate.
Right. Well, it's like you can give two different people the same script and they'll have two completely different results
Yep.
trying on the telephone. And I think it's their attitude towards it, like you just said, and how what they're putting into it and that comes out over the
Yeah.
phone. I think I used to raise money on the telephone for a bunch of different nonprofits. So I really got put through the ringer.
Yeah, it's your mindset, it's your
Hmm.
tone of voice, and it's the words you choose to use.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, the vast majority of the time, you say whatever you're going to say on the
Hmm.
phone to somebody, and
Hmm.
they tell you no. They give
Yeah.
you one of seven objections that everybody gives when they're not going to give an appointment. And the key is how do you take one of those objections, whatever objection they give you, and turn it around with the
Hmm.
appropriate rebuttal.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and the reason people do that is it's a knee jerk reaction, kind of like, do you
Hmm.
like shopping?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I know. I like shopping for two things. I like shopping for electronics because I'm a guy, and I like
Right.
shopping for cars because I like
Mhm.
torturing car salespeople. But things like clothing, hate it. I that's one of the things I miss most about being married because my ex-wife had fabulous taste in clothing, and she'd go shopping, bring stuff home, and say, "This is going to look great on you." I'd be like, "Oh, thank God, I didn't have to go to Macy's or Bloomingdale's or one of those stores." But at most of those stores, these days, there's somebody my age usually holding the door open. And they've got a big smile on their face, and they ask you the same question every time. I'm going to ask you the question, but don't say the answer out loud, okay? So I open the door for you, and I go, "Hi, welcome to Bloomingdale's." Can I help you with something today? There's something that you say back to them, right? You got it in your mind? Was it no thanks, I'm just looking? Yeah, how did I know that? I knew that because that's almost everybody's knee-jerk reaction to clerks in department stores when they ask you that question. And then as you turn to walk away from the pesky salesperson, you turn back around and go, oh, wait a minute, where's the black t-shirts? Where's the watches? Where's whenever you came into the store? But our knee-jerk reaction to protect ourselves from salespeople, no thanks, I'm just looking.
Right.
Same thing on the phone. It's a knee-jerk reaction. We have to do what's called a pattern interrupt. We interrupt their automatic negative pattern. No, I'm not interested. I'm happy with my current provider or whatever they say, and help turn them around to go, oh, maybe it is worth getting together with you. Because my belief is this. Everybody would want to get together with me. Everybody would want to get together with you. Everybody would want to get together with everybody who sells something if they knew, A, that the person was going to bring value to them, and B, that they weren't going to waste their time.
Right.
But that's a big fear. If I let Jeff Goldberg talk to me for half an hour, is it going to be a waste of my time? Is he going to try to pressure me into something, which I would never do? I'm not a pressure salesperson. I don't pressure people. I don't teach people to pressure people. But that's what people think. The salespeople are going to be high pressure and try to force them into something. Personally, I don't think I'm good enough to force anybody into anything that they don't want, don't need, or can't afford. And that's not my job. When you're selling, you only have one job. Have a great conversation. That's the job of selling. Have a great conversation with somebody and ask them great questions that help you understand their situation. Listen actively, which most salespeople are horrible at, and then tell them stories about how you've helped somebody else like them in a similar situation and how it worked out well. Sales is not rocket science. I say that all the time. And I love saying that because my oldest daughter graduated college last year, and she has a degree in aerospace engineering. She's literally a rocket scientist. You don't have to be my daughter Avery in order to be great at sales.
But you probably still have to teach her sales so she can get out there with her resume, right?
Nope.
No.
That chick had a job right out of school.
Oh,
a great job.
Awesome.
Yeah, she got a job. She went to the University of Virginia, and she lives on Long Island like I do. But she moved to Washington, D.C., is working with a very cool consulting firm that consults to the aerospace industry. So yeah, that one's taken care of. My twins just graduated in the last few weeks. I'm working on getting those two. Those are the two that need jobs.
That's great. So, if someone were trying to get a hold of you to get some help, is your website is the best place?
Well, you can certainly reach me through LinkedIn. I'm on there all the time. You can email me. I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time today. Jeff@jgsalespro.com, and that's my website also, jgsales, SALESPRO.com. I welcome phone calls. People can reach me at 516-314-9037, and my email is jeff@jgsalespro.com. So lots of ways to reach me.
Great.
By the way, I also have a free Facebook group for salespeople. We've got about 1,600 members. If anybody's on Facebook, it's called the Sales Pro Network. My group coaching community is the Sales Pro Insider Network, and that's a paid community. But I have a free group on Facebook called the Sales Pro Network. Salespeople can go on there. And when I say salespeople, again, anybody who sells, even if it's only part of their job responsibilities, you can network with other salespeople. You can ask questions. I get coaching. I have a lot of my competitors I've invited to be on there. We're happy to give advice. And every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, I do a live interview with, just like you're doing an interview with me, I do a live interview with somebody who can add value to the profession of sales. And that's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
I didn't think I would enjoy doing those as much because I like being the one who's being interviewed, but I actually enjoy meeting cool people and having great conversations with them.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's been fantastic today. Was there anything that we didn't get to that maybe you wanted to add for people?
Just my tagline that I use at the end of every broadcast, maybe that would be useful. And it's sales is a game of making things happen. So get out and make sales happen.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking the time today, Jeff. Hopefully we can have another conversation coming up and catch up again at some point. I got some events coming up. I got a book that just came out. Your Authentic Self, it's called. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I hope everybody will check that out. That's why I'm having the events to have some launches for it. So that's coming up too.
It's hard to sell books if you don't have a big following. I've co-authored 2, and it ain't
Oh,
easy.
nice.
I actually have a friend who's a producer on the Today Show. She's like, Jeff, I can't get you on. You don't have a following.
Wow.
If you were George Clooney and you wrote a book, I could get you on, but you're not. Oh, well,
Wow.
it's all good. I really appreciate you having me on, Karl. It's been a pleasure, and I'd be happy to come back anytime.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks again, Jeff.
Thank you.